Mitch Gaylord. And joining us on stage to present Mitch with his awards, Michael Wilson from our board of directors, and Ben Fox, one of Mitch's teammates at the Maccabi Games in Israel.
Thank you so much. I'm going to bring my daughter Valletta up here to translate. Just kidding. But she is going to hold that handkerchief because I do not think I'm going to get through this without a little bit of a tear. It's going to happen. But on the drive up here, I had this memory, and Scott and Gemma, you're going to remember this because it took place at a high school in Oklahoma. It was actually a middle school. And I gave a speech there, and I brought my medals with me, and I had them up on a pedestal like this, or whatever those things are called. And I started to give the speech, and immediately I get interrupted by one of the young kids in the audience saying, Mr. Gaylord, I have a question. And of course, the host is like, save the questions for the end. I said, no, it's okay. He's obviously excited. He's got a question for me. What is it? And he said, so are those your medals right there? And I said, well, yeah, those are my medals from the Olympics. Why? He says, so you got 4 medals? And I said, yeah. I go, what's up? Well, Michael Phelps got 23, and they're all gold. It's like, so as you can imagine, there's various thoughts running through my head, none of which I said. And I said, kid, I like your style. Let's talk after the speech. So no matter, he's got the shades. So no matter how good you think you are at any point in life, there's always someone to humble you. And that's exactly how I feel right now. Like incredibly humbled to be inducted into this Hall of Fame. The people that are in it, legends, people I looked up to in huge ways. So beyond words, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Board of directors, all of you, thank you all so much. Bart, Nadia, Paul, special thank you, shout out to you guys. This just feels incredible. It's an incredible moment. Peter, I'll get to you in a second. Mr. Vidmar, we do have a history, and it's a wonderful history at that, and we have an incredible friendship over all these years. I do need to pull out the glasses at this point in time. It's that time in life. And also, Koji, Gushikin, Oksana, I'm so honored to be inducted with you this evening. I'm huge fans of both of yours, and what a privilege. It's a great honor to be here tonight with you. When I started in gymnastics, it might surprise you. I started late, but my original dreams had nothing to do with going to the Olympics or being a gymnast. I wanted to be a football player. My dad used to take me to the UCLA, USC football games, and my dream was to be that running back, scoring the touchdown, and that's what my vision was for myself. But at 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, when everybody else was growing and I didn't, I realized that was not going to happen. And what I did love to do, which my parents, who are not here this evening, but what they saw in me was an incredible love for flipping. I like going off diving boards. I like jumping off roofs. I like putting beach towels around my neck, pretending I was Superman. I mean, those were my earliest dreams, was to fly. And they said, this kid is dangerous. He's going to get hurt. And they said, we got to put him in a program. And that's how I ended up in a trampoline program at LA Valley College. They had it on Saturday mornings. And the minute I got on that trampoline and the minute the coaches saw me on that trampoline that were there, I knew I'd found my home. And I had no idea about the real sport of gymnastics. I just loved flipping and twisting. And I was like the little wind-up kid who they would double bounce and throw up in the air. And I'd do 1 flip, 2 flips, 1 twist, 2 twists. And I had air sense. So it was a lot of fun, and I was learning rapidly. And eventually that morphed into Mitch, you got to try gymnastics. We got 6 events here, and there's a whole team, and there's a whole path for you in life. And that's what started the first time when I competed. And Pete remembers it a little differently than I do. And I guess it's funny because, at 62 years old, there's memories that are very vivid and other memories that you have to get reminded of. No, that's not how it happened, Mitch. You actually won the first time we competed against each other, and it was the second time. Talk about a competitive dude right here. It was the second time, which was a couple years later, that we were at a qualifying meet, and I guess I pissed him off enough to train really, really hard, and that particular competition, Peter actually won every single event, and I was humbled and embarrassed. And I remember thinking, that guy is going to the Olympics for sure. He was that good at that time. And I remember thinking, I don't really care that much because I'm just having fun. I just like the trips. We went to LA Valley Gymnastics, did a cartwheel-a-thon. We ended up in Hawaii. And I just loved the whole feeling of traveling and enjoying the sport and other, individuals doing the same thing I was doing. And after that experience, like I said, it was not me being so intense at that time. It was me just enjoying it for several years more. And from that point, I went into, got to go back to my notes here. I went into the Grand High School program. So I was now in high school, and the gymnastics coach there was the basketball coach, Coach Bill McKee. And he was the gymnastics coach. So it wasn't really any formal training going on there. And fortunately for my brother and I, who was a senior when I was a freshman, we ended up going to train with Dan Conley at Cal State Northridge. And he invited us there, and we were training with real gymnasts at the time. And that's really where I got most of my, higher level training, was with Dan Conley at Northridge. And I found a love and overcoming fear of things that I had to do. He was a very intense coach, and the thing that he taught us most was to face fears. So when I was super scared of high bar, he would get us up there and we would go through these routines, and I would overcome it. And he always laughs because he loved to tell the story after the Olympics that you should have known Mitch when he was back in high school. He used to literally hide in the bathroom when high bar came around because he was so scared. And now here he is doing Gaylord flips and all this other stuff, and he's kind of known for being a daredevil, which is kind of funny. But in my senior year, I won the LA City Championships at that point, and Dan had it in his head that I needed to start to compete nationally and really challenge myself. And so I went through the qualifying procedures, and I ended up making it to the Junior Nationals in 1979 at West Point. And I tell this story because it was, for me, the turning point of my whole career. I went to this event. My family flew out there, and it was the first time, like I said, competing nationally. And so I started seeing a lot of the gymnasts during warm-ups that I had read about or saw in Gymnast Magazine or everywhere else. People like Roy Pallisu and Chris Regal and Jim Mikas and all sorts of people that I knew about but never met in person. And during the warm-ups, I got so incredibly intimidated by how good I felt they were compared to me. And these guys had these incredible training programs growing up. They were destined to go to the Olympic Games at some point. And I just got incredibly nervous, insecure. Long story short, we did 12 routines, and of the 12 routines, I think I missed 6 of them. So half of them I made mistakes on. It just got progressively worse and worse and worse as the competition went on. And the big prize at that event was if you qualified in the top 12, you got to stay for the 2-week training camp with USA Gymnastics and all the great coaches, and you were part of the group that was being groomed for that next level on the regular national team. So they announced the top 12, and guess what place I came in? 13th. It's a true story, 13th. I was devastated, but there was one glimmer of hope, and that one glimmer was I sucked that bad, and I came in 13th. I missed it by 1 spot. And the truth is, it was kind of a turning point in my career. I mean, I felt terrible at the performance, but it was one of those turning points where the fork in the road, you know, are you going to give in and continue down the path of not believing in yourself, or are you going to know that it's going to require a tremendous amount of work, belief and effort and all those other things that you know got those other guys to that level. And that was the decision I had made. And I started to care a heck of a lot about getting a lot better. And so I went to UCLA after that. Makoto Sakamoto was the all-around coach there. Art Sherlock was our team coach. And I was training with some incredible gymnasts, Peter Vidar being the main one. And then Mark Hasso also went to the school at the same time I went there. And we just had this incredible camaraderie, an incredible team, training to levels I've never trained at, working harder than I ever worked. And just fast-forwarding from that point to 1981, the World Gymnastics Championships in Moscow, just because you have that mentality of I'm going to train super hard and I'm going to never allow myself to blow 50% of my routines doesn't mean it's not going to happen again on the road. And it did happen to me in 1981 where I became the alternate to the World Championship teams. And you guys remember this. And Mario, you remember this too, because we were sitting there in Russia and Mario and I had to sit in the stands watching these other guys compete. And it was tough. It was really tough doing that. And it was another one of those turning point experiences of, I can never let this happen again. I got to be on that floor. I got to get out there. And this competitive drive that I had never felt kicked into high gear. And on the plane flight back from Russia to the United States, this guy comes down to the coach section where we were all sitting at the time. And he said, "Hey, Mitch, come sit up in first class with me." And it was none other than Mr. Kurt Thomas. Now, Kurt was the commentator at the 81 World Championships. He goes, "I want to talk to you." And I said, "Okay, what does Kurt Thomas want to talk to me about? I've never really talked to the guy before." And like Peter, and I looked up to him and Bart growing up, man. These guys were the guys. And Kurt brought me up there and he said, "What's going on with you, man?" He goes, you're like one of the most talented gymnasts I've ever seen. And, here you are, the alternate on the team, and you should be out on the floor, and you should be winning medals. And, what's going on with you? And I told him it's, a little bit of a lack of belief in myself for some weird reason, and I just feel like I came from the wrong side of the tracks, feel like a little bit of an outsider and this and that. And he said, "You want to change all that?" I said, "What do you mean?" "Of course I want to change all that. I've got this fire inside me. I just don't know what to do." And he said, "I'm starting this pro tour, and I want to coach you. I want to coach you. And if you could just break away from UCLA for a while and come on this tour, I think we'd make a really good team here. And I think I could help you with your weakest events," which were his best events, pommel horse and parallel bars. "And I think I could also help you with your mindset in a big way." And I just knew in my heart and in my gut that this was the right move for me to make at that time. Now, you got to imagine, I came back home. I was all excited, told my parents, "I'm leaving my full scholarship at UCLA. I'm going to go train with Kurt on a pro tour. We're going to travel around the country. This is my direction. This is my ticket to make it to the Olympics." And to their credit, as their face dropped in the original portion of that conversation, to their credit, they said, "If you really believe this is the way to do it and this is the ticket, then we support you and we believe you. We want you to do it." And that's how I ended up on the Kurt Thomas Professional Tour. And it's fun to look out at Barry Woodward right there, who was there. And it's fun to see Mike Wilson back here, because you were there at the beginning as well. And that was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And the greatest thing Kurt ever taught me, besides work ethic and technical stuff, he taught me the love of performing over the fear of competing. And any gymnast in the room is hopefully not in their head, because it's a very distinctive shift in mindset. One, you're in there doing what you love and performing, and you're in the moment. You're not worried about who comes in what place. Am I going to make the cut? All those types of things, external thinking, and you're in the moment. And Kurt really taught me that, because I was going on the floor every night performing routines without competing, and I found the love of it. People were clapping and enjoying it, and I just, it was a huge turning point in my career. And I just want to thank Kurt from the bottom of my heart, who's no longer with us. And I can't be prouder, Becky, to be on the board of directors with you and do the event with Kurt every year. You guys got to come there next year, or maybe the year after. One of these years, get on out there. It's a really beautiful event. From there, I want to go back to 1984. I ended up going back to UCLA, as Bart said, for my senior year, and we ended up winning the NC2A title, which was just the most incredible moment ever. There's a whole story involved there, and I don't want to take too much time talking about it. But there was a little group of people that didn't want me to go back to UCLA, and most of them were head coaches of colleges that we were rivals with. I'm not going to mention any of their names, Nebraska or anybody else. But there were certain people who got together and tried to prevent me from coming back. Paul Zert was not one of them. But one thing led to another, and I did get to go back there. And that was one of the sweetest moments in the career, was competing with my teammates, the Casso brothers. Tim Daggett was on that team. Pete had already graduated. Otherwise, he would have been on that team too. But you were there, and we did share it together, and one of the most amazing experiences ever. And then that led into the 1984 Summer Games. And A.B. Grosfield's not here tonight, but I wanted to acknowledge him as well. One other thing I have to mention, because this got me a little choked up the other night when my buddy Mario McCutcheon showed up here. When I came back to UCLA, I was a man without a team. I had to sit out a year in redshirt, and Mario was done with college. And my brother was my coach at that time, and Mario asked if he could come train at UCLA with us, and day in and day out, Mario and I were training our butts off, working our tails off, and I wanted to honor you tonight, and thank you for that entire journey. Thank you. Mario and I became incredible teammates and friends for many, many years, and it's so freaking cool to see you here tonight. I love that you're here, and thank you for whoever arranged that. Somebody did, but it's beautiful. And A.B. Grosfeld, before we started the Olympic journey there, he sat us down at the training camp, and we've got Bart, Peter, and myself and Tim from UCLA. We got the Nebraska guys, Jim Hartung and Scott Johnson, and we were all competitors. We were rivals, and I don't think we were the greatest of friends at that time, but we had a major respect for each other and the ability that we all had. But A.B., who was our head coach for the games, sat us down and he said, "Hey guys, I just want to kind of set the stage of what we're going into here. You know, we can make history here as a team. First time ever, a men's medal. That's all we thought about. We didn't think about the gold per se. We just thought we could really win a medal here. We can make history." And he said, "Let's put all of our past competitiveness against each other to the side. Let's pull together as a team, and let's make some history here, and let's support each other. Let's really work together and make this happen." And for 3 weeks, for the first time ever, we were sitting in a gym cheering each other on through routine after routine after routine. You got to understand the nerves we were feeling going into that event. It's unbelievable. And to have the support of your teammates going into it means the world. And we got through the competition, one event after the other, kind of like built this magical thing. Every moment kind of built on the one before. And it's so hard to even describe. But by the time it was all said and done, and the 6 of us walked up onto the podium and we accepted the gold medal and we saw the flag go up, we all just were looking at each other and we all thought, this is unbelievable. It's a surreal experience, but we couldn't have done it without each other. That was the main lesson of everything, was pulling together as a team, supporting each other. And to me, it was by far the sweetest of any medal. Like the other medals pale by comparison to just standing up there and making history as the first American team ever to win a gold medal. And it was just a memory I'll never, ever forget. So, again. So I want to specifically, again, acknowledge Peter Vidmar, Bart Connor, Tim Daggett, Scott Johnson, and Jim Hartung. Brothers for life, right? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And finally, I'd like to thank my family who's here tonight. That's such an incredible, and Valletta for being up here. I didn't need it. But she was ready. She was ready. But I just love the fact that you guys are all here sharing this incredible moment. I love you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. Friends, Jerry and Diane Carmody who are here, thank you for being here and sharing this special moment. Scott and Gemma Stemmons, thank you guys so much for being here to share this moment. And thank you all so very much. This is so touching. It's an incredible honor. And I'm just going to enjoy this night till it ends. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Thank you. Thank you.